Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. We'll be sending out a recording too, so those that are showing up late will get the proper introduction in the beginning, or hopefully they can join us here when they log in. When we first booked this, I had forgotten that Monday was a holiday, so it's probably not the ideal time as people rolling back into the office from their long weekend. But I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So my name is Jeromy White, and I am with KingBenefits Insurance Solutions. We're located in Carlsbad, California. We are entering our 50th year in business. We do specialize in employee benefits, HR technology, compliance, and benefits communication strategies. This is my 17th year with the company. I'm now one of the partners, and we have carved out a niche consulting organizations who are reviewing PEOs as an option, looking at alternative PEOs if they're already in that model, and organizations looking at life outside of the PEO model for various reasons. So I'll also do a quick introduction to Stacey Frederiksen, who is co-hosting this webinar with me today. Stacey is with Paylocity, which is a payroll and HR software company. I'll let Stacey give herself and her company the proper introduction, but Stacey has been my kind of go-to partner on the payroll HR software side, mainly when we are evaluating businesses who are leaving the PEO model. So she provides a unique perspective. She spent the first part of her career working in HR, so she really has an understanding of what's important to folks and businesses on that side. So the conversation today, I'll just start out with why it's, I think important, possibly, hopefully, to use us, KingBenefits, as your PEO broker consultant. I think we bring a lot of value to the table, because anybody that's gone through this review of a PEO knows that it can be a pretty daunting task. There's a lot of moving parts to consider: employee benefits, HR needs, payroll, 401k, workers' comp, EPLI insurance. I'm sure some of you have tried to manage that process yourself. You go out to multiple vendors and quickly regret it when they're all asking for different information, or it's all kind of the same information, but they want it in their various different formats. And all of a sudden you're managing a dozen different conversations via email. And meanwhile, the clock's ticking on your renewal deadline. You throw up your hands and say, we'll do this next year. So that's really, I think, the role that we can play for you and for your company, is that we can be a single point of contact. We are agnostic. We have relationships with all of the major PEOs. We have relationships with all of the insurance carriers, payroll companies, and we can really be your single point of contact. We do an evaluation of what your needs are, what's on your wish list, and then we go out and do all the legwork, all the research for you, and bring back kind of our recommendations in a organized single spreadsheet, evaluating PEOs versus life outside of the PEO. We might talk to a couple different payroll companies. So that's really the goal that we are striving for, which is to make this evaluation process easy on you and bring back, hopefully, some opportunities for you to save money and just work as a true consultant on your behalf. So although we do work with all the major PEOs, today's conversation will be kind of focused on leaving the PEO model and what that entails, and why you might need to consider that if that's not something that you've looked at yet. It feels like most of the conversations when we do that evaluation with businesses that are in a PEO right now, they gravitate towards having more control of their business and the programs, using technology that can be more customized for their specific needs. And then finally, the financial impact of leaving a PEO can be pretty significant on the bottom line. So when you look at the PEO promise, it really looks quite excellent on paper. They're gonna show you that, hey, look, here's an opportunity to simplify your life, to bundle your payroll, your benefits, your HR, your workers' comp, all onto one platform. And it's a way to to manage all of these things in one place. And we see it work really well for startups. people that are still trying to prove the business concept. Maybe they don't have the people in place or the infrastructure in place to run some of these different programs. So there certainly is a place for for PEOs for certain businesses. And again, on paper, it really looks excellent. And in addition to that, the promises that are delivered by the PEO is that they're going to share in some of the liabilities. So you're entering a co-employment relationship, and you're outsourcing some of the HR responsibilities. They'll take that off the plate. They're going to provide some different buying power when it comes to the insurance, both health, medical, dental, life, disability, workers' comp insurance. They're going to put you on a platform for your technology and for your benefits administration that is the equivalent of what a Fortune 500 company might provide. And then finally, of course, they're going to help you process your payroll and manage your taxes. So what we found is that the PEO promise isn't necessarily the reality for most of the PEO clients these days. Employers aren't necessarily seeing the return on investment that they'd hoped for, and that really employers these days can in fact have access to better technology for a fraction of the price. Even small employers, they can give themselves more flexibility, more control outside of a PEO, because the reality is that you do lose some control with your business. You don't have access to certain customized reports and data that you want to pull. It's just not an option. So, something as simple as pulling an employee census with dependent ages. These are your employees. It's your data inside the system, but it's tough to navigate. It's tough to manage. You might have to ask for, the customer service representative for things that really shouldn't be that difficult for you to have access to. So it is a one-size-fits-all model. So if you're on a PEO platform with 2 employees or 300 employees, you have access to all the same reporting capabilities, all of the same insurance plans. It's really kind of, I guess, cookie cutter, and it's not real customized. So that is certainly one of the issues. As I mentioned before, we see a lot of startups enter business and enter offering benefits for the first time as part of a PEO because they do bundle it. But what we see as employers grow, the infrastructure is in place, the people are in place, maybe there's now an HR person on staff, that you do have the tools to manage different programs and go out and get a more kind of customized setup that is specific to the needs of your business. So you're also limited on some of the insurance options that you have when it comes to benefits, when it comes to workers' comp or EPLI insurance. There's just some carriers in place. I'll touch on the benefits piece here in a second, but maybe it's not the best fit for your business or your industry. Also, the reality is the customer service when working with any large company is generally lacking. So to give you an example, one of the major PEO providers has replaced their kind of dedicated HR support person that was assigned to businesses and replaced it with a call center. So now that experience for that PEO client, instead of having a go-to person, it's, calling a call center, being on hold for 30, 45 minutes, trying to get an answer that arguably they need right away, or at least it feels that urgent for most employers that, hey, this is, they want answers now and they don't always have access to them. So, and then sometimes the guidance and the support, it might take them a couple of days to get back to you. So we've seen the service and the HR support is become an issue for a lot of PEO clients as well. So with all of these services that a PEO bundles together, oftentimes there's a lack of transparency. So are you getting what you need is a question you need to really think about and ask yourself, and certainly that will help you think about critically and figure out that, if you're getting what you need, and are you paying for more than what you need. The PEOs are charging one of 2 different ways. either on a per employee per month basis. We've seen that between $50 and $150 per employee per month admin fees that employers are being billed for the PEO services, or a percentage of the payroll, the overall payroll. So anywhere from 2 to 10% percentage tacked on top of what your payroll is. So the services of the PEO are quite expensive, and it's maybe not always the best fit. The last thing here to consider is if you're with a certified or a non-certified PEO. A non-certified, you're counting on a PEO to file your taxes, your share of employer taxes on your behalf. And so if you're with a non-certified PEO and those taxes aren't paid for you, you could be on the hook. You could get a surprise from the IRS. So the piece that my company really specializes in outside of the PEO world is the employee benefits. So something to consider on the PEO is that you are part of that master policy. You're limited on different carrier options and plan designs. What I think is important, an important thing to consider, is that you're lacking a local advisor. So in my mind, this is very important, especially here where I'm located in San Diego County. There's constant innovation with the insurance companies on new networks, new ACOs, new programs, new ways to fund your insurance or fund your deductibles. That the PEO, as part of that master policy, you don't have that flexibility. You don't have the flexibility to look at some of the more localized medical groups or carrier options. I will say that PEOs, a lot of them now are more open to carving out the benefits piece. So they understand that maybe the benefit piece isn't the right fit for every business. You could continue to carry your payroll and your HR needs with the PEO and carve out the benefits. We've done that several times successfully. And then the last thing here is on the Section 125 credits. So there are some PEOs that take those 125 credits from your medical, dental, vision, FSA, HSA. These are employers' dollars that they're sometimes not being credited back. So that's another thing that we can help you evaluate and take a look at. Is that an issue for you? You might not even realize that that's taking place, if in fact it is. In addition to working with us, having a local advisor that can customize and provide a much better, I think, level of service, we do step in and we do provide some of those technology pieces that you're getting through the PEO. We provide them at no cost. So we have several vendors that we work with for online enrollment portal. Perhaps we even run that through Stacey, for example, at Paylocity. The payroll companies have their Ben admin platforms that are on par and often a lot less expensive route to go than what the Ben admin piece on the PEOs has assigned to you. We do provide different HR resources and tools through some of the technology. We have an HR hotline, we have a learning management system. Some of the stuff that just used to be kind of unique and specific to PEOs is a lot more accessible to smaller businesses. We do provide what I think is a very important role. It is a dedicated benefit advocate, and that's for your employees. So you see Jen here. She's our dedicated employee benefit advocate. She's working with employee-facing service requests all day long. So helping look at a bill, helping review a claim, helping order new ID cards, really anything benefits related. The goal here is to give your employees a go-to person, a go-to contact that they can trust versus having to call the carriers, which is a nightmare. And oftentimes that is a bad experience and maybe not getting the right information. But just having somebody local and dedicated to servicing your employees is very important to us. We also provide access to our employment law attorneys we have on retainer, Maynard Cooper Gale. They do monthly compliance webinars, always very current, and whatever the topics are important to the country or to the state specifically. Maynard Cooper Gale provides those to us, and then we also have them on retainer that you have access to them for a certain allotted amount of time each month when necessary. So I'm going to kick it over to Stacey with Paylocity. She's going to run through the technology that she can provide on the HR and payroll side.
Great, thanks, Jeromy. So kind of referring back to Jeremy's slide when he talked about the PEO reality, the things I hear most commonly with my clients coming from a PEO is reason why they got on and reason why they got off really comes down to three things. It has to do with the technology and the capabilities, has to do with wanting and needing an HR, kind of a dedicated resource, as well as having the all-in-one customer service. So first thing I want to break down was that technology. As you can see from this slide, we are a one-stop solution. So with Paylocity, of course, payroll being the heart, but really being able to customize and add on the services that you need. And so I think of it as a pre-hire to retire. You know, everything that touches your employee life cycle, we can help with. We are not a benefits or a 401k. So when I say retire, we also believe in kind of the ability to integrate. So that means when you are working with an outside service. And another call out of that is we believe in having it so open that we're not going to shut you off if it's a competitor, meaning you want to work with your service for recruitment or a Ben admin. We've got a Ben admin system or expense concur. What we do is we build the integration, or we have the ability that the two systems can talk pretty seamlessly so that data all flows into one database. So whether you use one of our services or you use a third party, that integration really keeps everything under one roof, and where you're not in the middle of maintaining and dual maintenance and additional administrative work between two systems. So that's where we meet with you, we understand your needs, and we really start customizing. The other thing is when we build it, we're building it specifically to you. So we're looking to add in rules and kind of the configuration on the back end so that when you're processing payroll, you're not having to go in and do the audits or any calculations on your side of it. So that kind of speaks to having that one-stop solution, everything under one roof, but also the customization and the needs you want out of a basically a software system. So the next slide goes into kind of speaking of payroll, and I know Jeromy touched on this, but having control of what you're paying for. So SUTA, your state unemployment tax, it gets ruled into that kind of pooled account, and no matter what you're doing on your unemployment, you're not able to drive those cost savings. Okay, next slide. HR service. So that's huge when you go into a PEO, is maybe sometimes you don't have that overhead, that you don't have the HR department, or you do, but you want another layer. With Paylocity, you still have this, and you really have two plans you can choose from. The first one being kind of I call it more of a reactive, meaning you can call in at any time and you can speak with an HR certified professional. Sometimes based on the triage, they're even an attorney at a one low set fee. Call every day if you want, and you can call in. But the other flip side is, I don't know what I don't know. I need somebody who is actually my dedicated HR advisor, and they're together going to plan with you kind of a proactive approach of, let's start with an audit, let's go in and make sure that we've got some compliance pieces in place, but those goals of having a weekly or a monthly touch-in to kind of understand where you are and how. Now they also can be, you know, the call as you need as situations come up, terminations or any of those hairy HR situations, they're also available, but it just gives you two levels and you decide which level service plan you want. Now both of those service plans still have self-service online, the libraries, the tools. You can build a handbook, or you can go in and doing editing options. So really, again, taking care of whether it's your one and only kind of HR, or if you're just augmenting what you currently have and having another layer. And then lastly, next slide. No matter, you could have the best technology. In Paylocity, we pride ourselves on being a technology company. Of the 4,000 employees we have, about a fourth of them are the product development team. So regardless if you have the best, most modern technology, it doesn't go too far if you can't get a hold of somebody. And I constantly and repeatedly hear, and as Jeromy said, for 20 years I was an HR director, so I have firsthand experience with this. If you can't get a hold of somebody when you need them, you know, the frustration just isn't worth even the best technology. So how we approach customer service is you will have a dedicated team of 5 to 7 account managers, and the hours are from 5 a.m. to 5:30 Pacific Standard, Monday through Friday. They're there when you need them. So when you call in, it automatically is going to route to your team. It's not a call center, it's not a queue. You're going to consistently speak to the same 5 to 7 individuals on your team. The average hold time is less than 30 seconds. And again, that's because when you get routed, it's going to go to the next available person of your team. We also feel that it's really important that the people you're talking to, notice they're account managers and not reps, that they're able to have a resolution of 85% within that first contact. They're not going to say, oh, you have a question about Ben admin, I've got to get somebody else, or time and labor, not my. They're going to be able to have that resolution with you. Now, I always also tell people, if you need to email, absolutely, but we do say it's a 4-hour kind of response time. Not horrible, but I like to say, you know, in payroll, usually you want somebody right away. So of course you can always email, and we have a chat functionality that you can get a hold of somebody live too. So that kind of bundles up really, again, when I see somebody evaluating whether or not they want to stay on a PEO, those are usually the heartaches that they're trying to overcome and to evaluate. So Jeromy, I think that was all of my section.
Okay, thanks, Stacey. I did forget to mention in the beginning that if you care to ask questions, we'll be taking some questions at the end. You can type them into the question chat box, and we will try to address those as many as we can at the end. Next, I'm going to talk about risk management, and I will preface this section by saying I am not the expert on workers' comp or EPLI coverages. I know enough to be dangerous, and I do understand the challenges that employers face with these coverages inside of PEO. But after evaluating your needs, I would pair you with one of my partners that's the right fit for your business. Same way I might pair you up with Stacey for payroll or HR, if that after the evaluation that seems like the best fit for your company. So just to start with workers' comp is it's a state required coverage. It protects your employees from workplace-related injuries and illness. From a cost perspective, it's one of the most significant components of a PEO. So one of the most significant challenges with it can be that it's hard to tell exactly what you're paying for the coverage that you're getting. So you may have several different class codes within your organization, different employee types. You might be in multiple states, and it's hard to tell that if the setup that you have within that kind of master policy, workers' comp policy, is customized correctly to your business's needs, or even then what the cost per dollar of payroll is that you're paying for each employee. So another concern from the administrative side is that when it comes to dealing with any issues that you might be having with the policy, you've got to keep in mind that you are the PEO participant and that you're not ultimately the work comp policy holder. So it might be difficult for you to get information on a claim, to track certain things through the workers' comp process that you can't pick up the phone necessarily and call the insurance carrier because the PEO is really that policy holder, and that's who they're answering those questions for. So one of the advantages that PEOs used to often tout is that you had the ability to jump onto a PEO to maybe dodge some bad claims experiences or a bad XMOD. And that's no longer the case. So every PEO participant is required to report their PEO claims history and track their XMOD directly with the bureau that tracks those numbers. So some of those advantages that maybe used to be built in for companies and why they might join a PEO to improve their workers' comp rate may not necessarily hold true any longer. And some of the same benefits that I mentioned on working with my company on the benefits side also apply to workers' comp, that you have through a PEO, you have one carrier to choose from. It's the master policy. When in California, there's over 200 workers' comp insurance carriers. So you very well might find something that's a better fit for your industry, for your employees, therefore giving you better rates. And then, of course, from the service side, working with someone local, not working with a big company, having more transparency when it comes to the fees or any hidden costs are all bonuses in my mind. The second piece that is built into the PEOs is underneath this same realm. And again, I'm not the expert with the workers' comp or the EPLI, but I have partners that are. But the employment practices liability insurance, this is coverage that protects your company from wrongful termination, sexual harassment claims, discrimination, hostile work environment allegations. It's EPLI insurance. It's a very active area in California right now, a lot of claims activity. One concern is that EPLI coverage offered by PEOs does not integrate with the directors and officers liability coverage. So that would be likely with two different carriers. You can imagine that oftentimes if there's an EPLI claim, it's for discrimination, for harassment, it's generally directed at one of the officers, one of the directors, and this can lead to the fact that there's two insurance companies in place. They're not integrated. Finger pointing, who's responsible for that claim? That's something to consider when you are covered with using your EPLI coverage through the PEO. And again, same with workers' comp. You are not the policyholder. You're a participant on the PEO's plan. The policyholder is the PEO, and that's really who the EPLI is kind of looking out for. So they may not necessarily be looking out for your best interest, but for your PEO's best interest. Again, lacking access to certain decisions through the claims process, selecting your own attorney, helping negotiate settlements. It may not always be what you feel is in the best interest for your company, but they are working for the PEO. And again, it's a one-size-fits-all model. So your EPLI coverage, you might have a $500,000 liability limit, let's say. You've got 100 employees. Well, that's the same limit that the PEO company with the PEO participant with 2 employees has. So the coverage itself may not be exactly what is in the best interest of your business. It may not be enough coverage. Maybe it's too much coverage. What we've seen, actually, a lot of clients do is that even clients that are in a PEO is that they carry a separate EPLI policy specific for their business because they know they can't depend on the EPLI coverage that is provided by the PEO. So in closing here, I just wanted to share a couple of the success stories that we've had in the last year. This first example was a 45 financial tech company, 45 employee financial tech company. We actually brought in Stacey and Paylocity on this one. She provided and this is a company that was exiting a PEO arrangement. Stacey's company provided over $67,000 of savings on the payroll side. On the insurance side, the bulk of the savings here on this case was through the workers' comp insurance. We were able to find some savings on the benefits side, but a total savings for this company of over $122,000. And each scenario is a little bit different. So if we get an opportunity to do a transparency analysis and really kind of break down, hey, this is what you're paying for in the PEO, you may not even realize this is where all the dollars are being distributed. But we'll find that the savings on one company might be through the workers' comp policy. Through another company, it may be primarily on the benefits side. But there always tends to be, at least from leaving the PEO model on the payroll HR side, there's always savings there. So the second comparison, as I mentioned here, the primary savings on the 39 employee media company that exited a PEO, worked with myself, worked with my partners. The bulk of the savings on this example, that the way we were able to help them, were on the benefit side. The reason for that is this is a company that had a lot of out of California employees. So this company was paying some really astronomical PPO rates for out of state, out of California employees, that we were able to provide a California carrier that had better PPO rates than what the national PPO rates were on this PEO platform. And as you can see here, save them over $156,000. And then the last example, I mentioned earlier, in some scenarios, you're able to carve out the benefits. So this is a local 300 employee medical device distributor. We did a full evaluation, PEO versus non-PEO for them. They chose to move from one PEO into another PEO, and they did realize a savings through that relationship of significant amount of money, $65,000 on the work comp, similar number on the HR and payroll. We did carve out the benefits. We couldn't get a competitive benefits quote from some of the PEOs specific to this company. So we carved out the benefits out of the PEO. It did result in an increase from where they were at currently, but this group was facing kind of an outlier increase based on some bad health situations. So we did the best that we could, and we did save them some money overall, around $86,000. So every scenario is different. I mean, these are real examples. These are references we can provide, and given the opportunity to evaluate, I believe very strongly that we can help most businesses that give us an opportunity to dig in, go to work for them, and bring back the best case recommendations. So some key dates to remember, if you are on a PEO platform, these are kind of the four main PEOs that we run into. ADP Total Source is coming up for their June renewal. Renewal rates for those of you that are using ADP Total Source should be coming out within the next couple weeks. They really try to hold those pretty close to the vest for as long as they can, which gets frustrating. But what I would suggest is start the evaluation process as early as possible. There's a lot to evaluate and to unpack. And so the more time we leave ourselves to ramp up and then kind of have everything set to go on what the payroll costs are, what the benefits costs are with other vendors, and then kind of just plug in as you wait for them to release your renewal rates, plug that into the spreadsheet, and just versus starting that process once you get your renewal rates, it oftentimes becomes too late. So we're coming up on an ADP Total Source renewal. TriNet, they handle their renewals quarterly. So if you, based on when you first got signed up with them, if you signed up with them in the first quarter, then your renewal is going to be January. If you signed up with them in the second quarter, it would be April 1st, and so forth. So they do their renewals each quarterly. And then Insperity's renewals are throughout the year, and Paychex January 1st renewal. So I will mention that you're not bound to these renewal dates by for any reason. I just throw those out there because that's oftentimes when you want to do your evaluation. You have the most current changes to the benefits through your PEO. You have how they're going to adjust your administrative costs. And but we can get to work on this at any time and start an evaluation process for you and see if there's a better situation out there. We do have a checklist that gives you some things to think about critically. I would be happy to send this over to you, our assessing your PEO checklist. If you'd like to maybe just drop us a note, our contact information. My contact information is here, my email address, Stacey's email address. Please send us a note, and let me just check this chat box here. We have some questions that have come in. I see one asking, let's see, about 401k and retirement plans and how that fits in. So yes, that is certainly part of the evaluation that we help and the partners that we bring in. Somebody that does retirement planning. We have, I know like Stacey's, actually maybe I'll let Stacey address that herself, but I know that on her payroll platform, she integrates with multiple 401k providers.
Yeah, absolutely. So that integration we talked about earlier allows our system talk to directly, and we integrate with hundreds of 401k, mostly for sure the big ones, but hundreds of 401k carriers, and that eliminates you being in the middle, kind of takes some of that fiduciary liability away, because when you deduct money out of the paycheck, it's very sensitive on the timing of when you're going to invest it. So just letting technology talk to each other. On the flip side, many of them are a 360 integration that also takes out you having to go into, let's just say like a Fidelity, having to go in there and determine if anybody changed their contribution. So new hires get pushed over to your system, changes that happen in their system get pushed and automatically update the deduction. So it really just makes it feel like, again, that one database and that one source of control.
Okay, thanks, Stacey. I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat box right now. I'll maybe give it a minute to see if anybody else wants to throw in a question or raise their hand and ask a question. Happy to hang out for a few minutes. I do want to say thank you, those of you that are that joined us today. I do appreciate your time, and we can send out a copy of the presentation, a copy of the recording to those that didn't make it, or for you to share with your team. And again, I would say just it's a simple kind of fact-finding conversation. If you're just looking for some advice, even if you're not ready to, dig in and start getting some quotes, but just ask some questions. We've got to know this stuff really well. So, feel free to hit us up, myself or Stacey, and thank you again.